All right. So when you continue to add tracks, you may, as we see here, we have some weird issues as far as the look. We have this first sound and this second sound. They pretty much start at the same time. And they're separated distance-wise on the display. I mean, it doesn't change how it sounds, but looking at it, it may be easier to look at it in a different way. So we can move these tracks around in a couple different ways. We can click on this down arrow and we can say move the track up. Now it's going to do it one at a time, so it's kind of tedious to do this way. Okay, but you can do it that way. You could move the track to the top or the bottom. Okay, and that way it's a quicker way to get it if you really want it towards the top. Let's just move this to the bottom. Okay, so I kind of reversed those two. I flipped those first tracks just now. There's another way that you can do align tracks, and you can do, where is it? Sort tracks, excuse me, and by start time. And then that way, because these two started first, they realign so that this one comes in first, this one comes in right after it. There's that little dead space there, so it came in second, and then the water, and then the glass bowl here. You could also do it by, again, sorting the tracks. You could do it with numbering or by name. So for this particular way would be odd because we're doing random sounds kind of, and so I'm not sure that doing it by name would be useful in this particular situation, but there may be a situation where you've set it up and it's easier to do it that way. If you just label your sounds A, B, C, and D as you put them in, if you want to come back to that, you can do it that way. But again, it moves everything in the whole track up and down, so that's nice. A nice way to stay organized. Okay. All right, let's continue on with doing some experimentation with the sounds. Okay. Now, obviously, I have this copy and this copy of the same sound. I don't necessarily need them both, but I don't necessarily want to delete this just yet because I might decide to use it later. So I'm going to just drag this further down the track. Now, let's say that we decided, I really like something before this. How do I add sound at the beginning? Well, if you want to add time to the beginning, we can just select all. Use our movement tool, and it's going to move everything over that way. So if we want to move all of our tracks, we want to add one sound at the very beginning, but we've already laid everything out, we can do it that way. We can select all, and then it'll just move all your files down however much time you want to add in. And so in this case, I'm adding about 5 seconds of space at the very beginning. Now, if we decide later on we don't want it, there are other ways that we can delete that, but we'll just leave that space in there for now. All right, let's continue to play with these sounds. So let me do this. We started with this long sustained sound of the bowl going from left to right and forwards to reverse. It transitions nicely into this water sound and then into the glass bowl hit. So at this point, I think what I want to do is take this glass bowl hit, and I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to make a whole bunch of those. I'm going to create a little rhythmic section of lots of movement. So let's try, and again, we're just experimenting, so we'll just see what we see. We'll get what we get, and if we don't like it, we'll undo. Let's do change pitch. Since it's such a small one, we can change pitch. So let's just say we're going to go up 1 semitone. So now we have a little half step difference between the two. Copy and paste that again. Let's say we go down this time. We're going to do an effect. We're going to change pitch, and let's say we want to go this controls the octave right here, this little switch right here. You can see it's jumping quite a bit. That's octaves. Okay. Let's see. I want to go down. Let's go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 semitones down. That'll give us a movement of a tritone from that first pitch. Okay. All right, I like that. Oh, and then let's also do a reverse on that last one. That'll make that a little bit more interesting as well. All right, now let's put these closer together too. Yeah, too far away. Oops, I left a little piece of it behind, didn't I? Well, that's why Control Z is your friend, because if you make a mistake like that, you can undo it and then try again. Okay. Now, you can overlap these files to some degree, but you're limited. Yeah. Well, no, you can't overlap the clips. It won't let me push this any further. I can't overlap them. If I want to overlap this track, let's see. If I really wanted to overlap those two sounds a little bit, then what I could do is use this tool, and I can click it, and I could move it into this track up here. Now I can't bring it down because there's no track to bring it to, but I can bring it to an existing track. So if I want to continue this idea and overlap those sounds a little bit, I do need to add a new track. So I'm going to add a new mono track. Okay, now I have the space where I can put that sound, and I can overlap it a little bit. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing. We'll bring that one over there. And as you can see, it can get very tedious very quickly because you're doing, right now I just want to overlap these sounds. That's why I'm adding so many tracks. Again, if I want to simplify this later, I could mix this down into other stereo tracks if I want to do panning effects with these as well. Let's see, we move these sounds from left to right. So let's move these ones back. And this is a very crude way to do this, obviously. Some of the other programs will allow you to do, as we get into more advanced software, they'll allow you to do panning envelopes, so you can not have to set the whole track at the same time, and you can use it gradually. That's kind of cool. All right, and then let's do that here. Paste. Let's do a reverse. Some of those sounds, when you reverse them, like this water, will sound kind of the same when it's reversed. It won't sound a whole lot different. But different enough. And let's do this, and we're going to add some reverb to it now. Now, when I previewed the wet only, you just heard the effects. There was no part of the original sound left. It was just what the computer did on the effects. So that's an interesting way. You can just get effects if you want. I do want the original sound still as a part of that. And then again, we can control how much of that dry sound before the effect is in there. We can still have it at the same level. or we can have it at a softer level. Let's try it. No, I want it a little bit higher. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so I found what I wanted, so I'm going to hit OK. All right, and you see the waveform jumped up just a little bit because we added some stuff to it, which made it a little bit louder. Again, that's why we want that headroom when we set up our sounds before we do effects. All right, now let's see how the placement is for this. I think I will move this over that way. And I think I want to make the volume a little softer because I don't, maybe bring it a little softer. Even softer. Let's make that crescendo a little bit more. Now that's as loud as I can get that right there. So let's say I wanted to make that even louder. Okay. So now we're going to select that part, and you can select just a bit of the file. Now you got to be careful. What you want to do, if you select just a piece like this, it's just that little bit there, zoom way in, and where are we? There we go. I've lost my place. Hang on here. All right. Yeah, I'm zooming in. There we go. Okay. So you want to select something that's right on the line so we don't get a clip, a little blip in the sound right there on that dot. Okay, now I can zoom back out and select the rest of that. Okay, and I held down shift and clicked on the end. Okay, and now we can just affect this one part of the sound. I wanted to make it louder even. Now I wouldn't necessarily want to do normalize at this point. I mean, that's one way we could do it. Let's see. Amplify, that's another function we can do. Okay, new peak amplitude. Yeah, now I clicked allow for clipping and it went up into the red. We don't want that. But I have it set too high. There we go. So it kind of told us, okay, right there, too loud. All right, let's go there and see how that does. And obviously there was an abrupt jump there in the sound, but that is again a way you can sculpt the different pieces of the sound there. We didn't hear a clip though. That's the good thing. We didn't hear a bump. It just got suddenly louder, but that's okay. That works. Okay, and we could also put one of these other sounds in there to kind of cover up that drastic change, or we could just leave it as is. All right, And in the next video, we'll continue to play around with some of these sounds.